Being emotionally detached might not make me the life of the party, but it sure makes me great at poker. Today, I want to talk to you about the strengths of being a narcissist. Some might call them the superpowers. Before we go on, subscribe, hit that like button, share this with someone who might be useful with. Okay, let's dive in. So, a little bit about my story, not to belabor the point if you've watched my other videos, but for almost all of my life until about the last year and a half, 2 years, I had no idea that I was a covert narcissist. Now, to get into the details of the types of narcissists, covert, overt, all that stuff, is the subject for another video, which we can put that link above here in a minute. But what I want to say is that it's not unusual for a covert narcissist to not know that that's what they have going on, that they have narcissistic personality disorder, because it's hidden. It doesn't look like sort of the classical boasting, gregarious, outgoing, wanting to be the center of attention narcissist. It's much more subtle than that. So when I learned that I was a covert narcissist, I did what any covert narcissist would do, which is I decided I was going to be the expert at covert narcissism because somehow that would make it all better. And what I learned was there is a lot of negative stuff out there, which I'm sure you're aware of. If you made it to this video, you must have some interest in narcissism. So you've undoubtedly been bombarded with all of the negative images, stereotypes, and so forth. But, and I'll say that those aren't always off base, though that simple characterization of narcissists being evil or having evil intentions is off base in a lot of cases, particularly when you're becoming conscious about your narcissism, which many of us are, which is kind of the whole point of this channel. So let's dive into the superpowers of narcissism, because that's kind of the other side of the coin, right? There are challenges we have. We don't have a lot of empathy. We don't interact emotionally in ways that are expected. That causes a lot of distress, confusion, etc. in our relationships and in our lives. It causes a lot of turmoil. But on the other side of that coin, there are some benefits and some strengths to having a brain that works like a narcissist rather than a brain that works like, most other people. And at the beginning, I mentioned poker. That I love that example because I really enjoyed playing poker. I'm pretty good at it. And I believe that it's actually my narcissist brain that helps me have the skill that I have and why I'm good at the things I'm good at in poker. So one of the best things I'm really good at, or one of my best talents in poker, is being able to continuously observe all the other players while we're playing. Now, that doesn't just mean like, oh, Bob over there always scratches his cheek like that when he's bluffing, because it doesn't really work that way. But because I'm not engaged in that emotional level with any of the other people, it just doesn't happen naturally for me. I naturally have the ability to look a little deeper into sort of the strategic aspects of the gameplay. And the other thing is because I spent my whole life trying to operate in this world that seems foreign, because most people do operate, with empathy and emotionally in relating to each other. And that's always seemed odd to me or unusual. It doesn't come naturally. So what I had learned to do all my life was to carefully observe the interactions of the people around me so I could try to fit in this world that I didn't feel like I ever quite fit into, because none of the things that seemed to happen for other people naturally were really happened in the same way for me. What that's allowed me to do is to be very observant of patterns of behavior. Typically that observation is so that then I can kind of like try to fake it and perform how I think or have thought that people wanted me to perform. But in a scenario like poker, it actually allows me to have a very keen observatory mind and eye for the subtle movements, interactions, and so forth of the other players. And this is one of my both best skills in poker playing, but also my favorite parts about it, because it's just interesting to me to observe other people and to figure out the motivations behind their actions, their words, and all of that in order to then strategically plan my next move. It kind of naturally folds into something like poker. Now, poker is not the only place that superpower shows up. You may or may not like poker, you may not be good at it, but that's just a good example of where some of those natural things that we're more attuned to with our narcissistic brains actually can be an advantage. So other areas where that might play, those two main things I just mentioned, the keen observation of behavior and the interactivity between people and how that shows up behaviorally is one. The other being able to observe a situation without that same emotional investment or that emotional draw that many people seem to have who aren't narcissists. This is great for, emergency situations. Like I've always been really calm under pressure, able to, if somebody's injured or something like that's going on, I'm usually the one or one of the people who can show up at the scene and not get caught up in the drama or the hysterics or any of that stuff and just stay focused on, okay, what's going on here? What do we need to do? How do we handle this situation correctly without, getting lost or distracted by the emotionality of it? So there's lots of scenarios where that comes up. A medical emergency is kind of a dramatic example. But that type of thing is really useful too, because once I've learned and started to learn to inform my world and the relationships in my world, how my brain operates differently, it's allowed me to then offer myself as, hey, you're sharing about this situation that is distressing to you or stressful or you're unhappy about. And I'm not really great at, connecting emotionally to that. But what I can really help you with is when you're ready or if you're ready for strategic thinking or to have a viewpoint added to the situation that isn't tied into any of the emotionality, I can be really good at that. And that skill shines in lots of areas. Playing poker is one of those good examples. So that is one of the superpowers of narcissism. And if you're someone like me who spent a lot of time really trying to understand myself, understand human behavior, what we call self-development, I've been doing that for many years now, well before I discovered that sort of the underlying thread for me was narcissism, which has opened my eyes a lot. I have my closest relationships with other people who are also interested in learning about themselves, developing themselves, learning to operate better and, freely and not be tied down by their different conditionings. And so one of the biggest conditioned patterns in our society is codependence. If you're familiar with that, great. If you're not, there are countless resources out there, podcasts and videos, articles, all that. You can read about it. But why I'm bringing that up is another benefit that I've observed with being a narcissist and being in a relationship with people who are interested in conquering their codependence so they can operate freely as they are and not be hamstrung by that type of conditioning, is that narcissists are like the perfect antidote for the codependent. Now, in an unconscious way, it operates very negatively often and leads to a lot of disappointment and all kinds of stuff, that relationship between a narcissist and a codependent. But in a conscious way, when both people are interested in becoming more awake and conscious of themselves, it's actually a great remedy, because the quick and dirty of a codependent is they will often express things in an incomplete way or non-specific way with the goal of having the other person figure out and slide in and fill the needs that they aren't willing to express, or even to themselves or even to the other person. But when they do that to a narcissist, because our brains work so differently, we literally cannot figure out what they're wanting, the codependent is wanting emotionally in the situation. Like, it doesn't even occur to us. And so the remedy being, since we don't give them that, they have to either stop the interaction or get more specific of what they're really wanting and clear and express in a way that's not that codependent pull, but rather, here's what's going on, here's what I really want. Because that's really the only way they're going to receive anything of satisfaction from the narcissist. So it's kind of like we're this, just by the nature of the way our brains work, we're this cool remedy, I think, for the codependent who's really wanting to resolve their codependent. In fact, if you're a codependent and you want to, fast track your freedom from that condition pattern, find yourself a conscious narcissist to have a relationship with and interact with, because it will cause you to make that change much more rapidly. So our traits as as narcissists, might not fit the societal expectations of that emotional connection, that empathy, that quote unquote caring response of what people expect, but they can be powerful assets in the right context. All of this, of course, in the bigger context of someone who is attempting to, or on the path of becoming more aware of and conscious of their narcissistic traits and the way their brain works, and learning how to operate in the world in a more effective, satisfying way. But when that's in place, you can actually use some of these traits, some of these narcissistic ways of brain operating as superpowers. So I see it like all of us are unique in our own ways. Now, narcissists all have very much similarities, just like codependents all have a lot of similarities. But within that, each individual is unique. That's one of the remarkable things about being humans. Each one of us is unique relative to the others. We can't really be pigeonholed, though psychology likes to label and then say all the people that are like this have these traits or these behaviors and kind of end the sentence there. But the truth is when we're after it in our lives, and by after it, I mean working and on the adventure of learning ourselves more, uncovering more of our own true selves from the inside, learning how to express that to our world to make a more satisfying world for ourselves, that those unique characteristics, whatever they are, in this case, I'm talking about for me with my narcissism, it's actually a way that I can uniquely contribute to my world. Now, I'm not trying to put on rose-colored glasses that this is all how it always works and everybody should just love narcissists and all the ways they do their narcissistic things. But what I am saying is that it's problematic to look at all of the traits and brain differences and all of that stuff of a narcissist and just say they're all negative or all bad or all things that need to be changed, because that's really never how it works. Even, going to the example we were talking about of the codependent, a lot of people find that continuing on with a lot of their codependent behaviors is not satisfying. But also, a lot of people who have a lot of strong codependent behaviors, when they're awake and aware and working to better themselves, are actually very emotionally caring people. That's one of the strengths they have. So it's not like they have to just leave that behind. Similarly, it's not like narcissists just have to leave behind our observation, our keen observation of behavior, or our strategic thinking, or unemotional big picture view. We can actually use that to benefit situations and scenarios that benefit ourselves and the world around us. So that's what I wanted to share today. Remember, subscribe, like, thumbs up, throw some comments in the comment section. I'd love to interact with you guys. Any questions you have, any thoughts this might have brought up for you, what you've been doing in this arena that has worked for you, where the challenges are, because I think that the best use of any of this we can do is to work together. So I'd love to interact with you guys in the comments. Please go ahead and throw them down there. And till next time, this is Awake Narcissist, where we're spreading the news that narcissists are